my name is Ashley Scher. I'm the founder and CEO of ShareLove.Fund, and this is our RPYT teacher training, week 4, and we are going to talk about cat-cow, but we are going to do this in the context of flight school. So we had a program participant who's pregnant and traveling, and she asked for some chair yoga to do on the airplane. So we're going to imagine that we're taking flight together. You have your carry-on, and this carry-on, we're actually going to use it, and I guess we have a companion pet on this flight as well. So it's a pet-friendly flight. And the reason why I brought a carry-on is because it's nice to actually have something to put your feet on to help have a nice posture for chair yoga. You want to have in-flight materials, and so I brought our sun salutations and also our 45 key poses, and we will see what the chair yoga version is of that. So I'm going to organize myself a little bit. So I brought this bag so you can sort of simulate putting your feet on your backpack or something like that in the flight. But ideally, you would have a step stool. And so I'm bringing that as well, so we sort of have an idea for chair yoga. I'm going to get comfortable for the flight. Sometimes there's a little air conditioning, it could be cool. Oh, and before I do, I want to thank Fabletics and Kate Hudson for her inspiration. And this is an outfit by Fabletics, and they're really great because they also cater to plus sizes, and it's really for all women. So anyway, we are ready to take flight. So you can either have your feet on a bag or a step stool, and the reason we want to do that is it helps us tilt our pelvis a little bit forward and really feel the alignment of the back. So in the first couple weeks, I'll leave our ShareLove.Fund flight information up here. In the first couple weeks, in the first week we talked about how yoga can be for everyone. It doesn't mean being a pretzel. In the second week, we went over the sun salutation. In the third week, we went over easy seat or Sukhasana. And now we are going to go over cat-cow. But we are going to go over it in the context of being on an airplane or in a chair. So how do you do cat-cow in a chair? It's all about curvature of the spine, right? So we can lean forward and we can lean back. And you don't have that much room on an airplane, but you do have enough to move your spine. So that is going to be the pose of the day, the week, but we will also go through all the poses and the chair yoga version of those. We'll also take this in-flight opportunity to thank you all for joining our RPYT. And when you pay for yourself, you are also paying for someone in need, or also for our youth leaders, so we can offer free programming to high school kids and they can get an adult degree. And I'm super excited to share our most recent graduate, and this is this is her diploma, so we're super excited about that. So, and we also do 8x10s for them, and just really try to make each of our graduates feel empowered, and sometimes earning a degree does that for people. So also on our flight, it is important to be hydrated. So we have a bottle of water here, and I encourage you to take breaks as you need to, drink lots of water. I'll drink some myself. So let's just start with a little review. So first, last class, we talked about Sukhasana. So how do you do Sukhasana, easy seat in a chair? Well, if it feels comfortable, if you have the flexibility, you can just bring your feet up. And maybe in some ways this restricts your space, but when you're pregnant and you are on a long flight, sometimes it just feels good to switch it up. So we can do Sukhasana in a chair. So now let's talk about the sun salutation, which we did our second week, and sort of see what that looks like in a chair. So Tadasana, mountain pose, sitting straight. So we can do that in a chair. Upward salute, inhale, arms up with attention to the shoulders down. No problem in a chair. Exhale, and we can lean forward to forward fold. Now, if you're pregnant, maybe your forward fold looks something like this. You can use your arms to brace yourself. And if you're like this, you might think, okay, well, what's the benefit of forward fold? Well, you can shake out your neck and shake out your head. So let's just take a few breaths in forward fold. If you feel dizzy or lightheaded, you don't need to do it, but we're just going to experience the benefits of forward fold. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. If having your legs supported doesn't feel great, you can let them hang. But sometimes when you're pregnant, it feels good to be supported. So we'll just take a few breaths here. If you are in your first trimester, you can really lean forward. You can also widen your legs and lean forward this way. Having a step stool is also nice because maybe you want to lean forward, but you don't want to go all the way. We should never put pressure on the belly. So this might be too much, but with the step stool, it's a way to really just let it all hang out, but still be supported. Here, we'll breathe and relax the jaw. Just maybe shake the head side to side. Try to stay focused despite all distractions, but he is the best at down dog. And then we'll inhale to half bend. Now here, it is really nice to have the step stool. If you don't, because you're on a plane, you can use your forearms to support you. And so what is half bend doing for us here? Here, we're really working on lengthening the spine. And you can really think about just one line trajectory from the tailbone to the top of the head. And then our next pose in the sun salutation is plank. So how are we going to do that on an airplane? And I also want to mention that this is airplane chair yoga, and it's not limited mobility chair yoga. So some of the things I'm doing wouldn't work for someone with paralysis. So for plank, let's think about what the purpose of plank is. The purpose of plank is to build upper body strength. And so maybe we can try it. We don't have much room on an airplane, but maybe we try it like this. And the people next to you might be a little suspicious, but if you're pregnant and uncomfortable and flying to Singapore, what are you gonna do? You need some circulation. You can widen your legs in plank for more stability, making sure you don't trip the flight attendant in the aisle. And we can do plank just like this in a chair. For knees, chest, chin, chaturanga, we're not doing that pregnant. You can do that pregnant on blocks, but in the other classes, we've been skipping it and doing up dog. So up dog works on an airplane. You can even use the back of the seat to help the spinal stretch. And this is a way to get deeper. When we do the cat-cow, we're sort of doing it just on our own, but when you really do this against a chair, it helps you use gravity to get a little deeper into the stretch. Now, when we're pregnant, we're not going to do any twists, but it is okay to strengthen and lengthen and add flexibility to the spine. So from here, we'll exhale into down dog. So down dog, you know, we can kind of, it's hard to get into it because you're not gonna have that much room, but I guess you can, well, I don't really want to move too much because I do want to simulate an airplane, but we can think of what the purpose is. So the purpose of down dog, we're lengthening the hamstrings, we're lengthening the spine, and so we can do this. This is also a good way to do down dog if your wrists are sensitive, because the weight is distributed on your forearm and the chair is supporting you, and so it's not so much weight on the wrists. From down dog, we can walk or step our feet up, and now we are at upward salute, which you also could do on an airplane, so it's not chair yoga, and down for Tadasana. I'm gonna also just do upward salute in a chair, upward salute, and back to mountain pose. So that's what our sun salutation looks like in a chair. So let's just kind of do that again with a little more fluidity. So we start in mountain pose, and inhale, upward salute, and exhale, let it all hang out. Making room for the belly, because it's a prenatal class, you can widen your legs. And if you have a carry-on, you can put some weight on the carry-on. That way you're not too compacted. Here, you'll breathe, maybe shake out the neck, add a little relaxation to that, and then maybe put some weight on your carry-on for the half forward bend. From here, we go to plank. And really, this is a core exercise, so the only way to do that is to kind of get up. And we make our body a plank. Engaging our core. You can widen the legs a little bit if that feels better. Pregnant for more stability. And then we come up to up dog. Bringing our legs together, squeezing our glutes. And this is an opportunity to really work the back muscles. So in pregnancy, a lot of people complain about back trouble. So if we strengthen our back muscles, that's a way to sort of give your body a fighting chance. We'll exhale. Back to down dog, and then kind of back in our seat. Breathe in, upward salute, and exhale, downward dog. So the people on the airplane might think you're a little crazy, but if you're pregnant and you need the circulation, what are you gonna do? Hopefully you have a friendly neighbor, or you got the 2 seats on JetBlue. Okay. So let's try it again 3 times together with a little more fluidity. And this time, try to think about your breath. Inhale, upward salute. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half bend. Exhale, go to plank. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, back to down dog. So we have down dog. Okay, then we're going to kind of sit back down, do forward fold, half bend, upward salute, Tadasana. Tadasana, upward salute. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half bend, then to plank. Plank, we'll skip chaturanga and go into up dog. From up dog, go into downward dog. You can pedal out the feet a little bit if that feels good, with a long spine. From down dog, we'll do forward fold. Now this time, if you're standing up in the vicinity of the plane and there's no seatbelt sign, you can do the forward fold. The pregnancy modification for this is just widen your legs if you need to, especially for balance. There's some turbulence. Really ground your feet into the floor, and you can kind of bend your knees a little bit for an extra little bit added traction, and just hang. So we'll let this be for a minute. If you feel dizzy, come up. But this is a really good opportunity to just release. You can release your hamstrings. You can release your lower back, your neck. So often when we're pregnant, it feels like gravity is working against us. So this is a way to have gravity lengthen. If it feels like too much, can come to half forward fold and use the chair to support you. And here we're thinking about a long spine. You can also pedal out your feet a little bit here and half forward fold. And we can come up to upward salute and back down to Tadasana. So we'll do that again 2 more times. Tadasana, upward salute, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half bend, and then we'll go to plank. From plank, we squeeze our glutes, the back of our legs, engage our core, and then up to up dog, really engaging our back muscles. From up dog, exhale to down dog. Let it all hang out and forward fold. Come to half bend, you can use the chair to help. Inhale, upward salute, and exhale to Tadasana. We'll do it one more time. And our method is based on repetition because we teach incarcerated women with no tests or quizzes, and this is just a really pleasant way to learn the material just by doing it, kinetic learning. So inhale, upward salute, and exhale, let it all hang out. You can widen your legs. Inhale, half bend, and exhale, drop into plank. Inhale, upward dog, up dog, and exhale, down dog. And then we'll drop into forward fold, releasing our neck. Inhale, half bend. Inhale more, upward salute. Keeping our arms up and our shoulders down. Exhale, Tadasana. So that is how to do the sun salutation. on a plane. So, our additional in-flight material is we're going to go through the signature 45 ShareLove.Fund poses. I'll bring back our step stool because I think that when you're pregnant, it feels good to be supported. And obviously on a plane, you won't have a step stool, but you can use your knapsack. And we'll go through our 45 signature poses. So the first pose is Sukhasana. So we touched on that, and that was our third class. And for advanced folks, they can do lotus. And this just can be crisscross applesauce, but sometimes on an airplane, it just feels good to switch it up. You can also use this as an opportunity to do a subtle foot massage or self-massage, and this helps with circulation. Oops. One of the things that's nice about easy seat or Sukhasana on an airplane is that you're really contained. You're not in anyone else's space. And so this is a nice opportunity. You can do a little self-massage and just kind of focus. This is also a meditative position. So if it's a long flight, you can also use this as an opportunity to meditate, to focus on positive thoughts, and really think about purposely surrounding yourself with positivity. So whether that's making choices of friend groups or people to try to spend the choice time that you have with people that are inspiring to you, or if that's doing things that fulfill you, like planting a garden or taking a walk. There is a lot of strength in nature, I find, and sometimes being outside, it just gives us an opportunity to decompress. So in Sukhasana, we can play around with this and also think about our shoulders. We can have our hands up, rolling our shoulders back or down. Can bring an arm across you, sort of wrap it around your shoulder and try to get a stretch this way with not having arms flailing about. That could be in someone's way. You can kind of give yourself a hug. We're going to be careful in prenatal to not twist, but a hug is okay. It's not messing with the belly. And you can shake it out and bring this arm around and wrap it so it's not in anyone's way. And stretch and give yourself a hug on this side. And doing this, you can think about dropping your shoulders and just breathing. So let's take a breath here. Can also bring an elbow up. If it feels good, you can reach back. And really just feeling that arm stretch. You know, there's a lot of stretches we can do sitting in a chair. And some of these things we don't really have time for. You can stretch the other arm like this, or bring your hands together in the back. Sometimes we're just so focused on getting a workout that we forget that we can spend an hour just stretching our arms. And take a deep breath here, a few breaths, because it takes about 90 seconds for the release to happen. And the thing with stretching is it takes time, but on an airplane, you do have time. So in the last class, we talked about not twisting and what that means. So bending is not twisting. Twisting, to not twist, what we want is our stomach to stay aligned. So I like to think of it as sort of like if your belly button was a flashlight, it would stay pointed and forward. The moment your belly button is like pointing to this side or that side, then you're twisting, and that could be dangerous. We are allowed pregnant to sort of like rainbow our arms one way, and then for balance, when you put one arm over, if you put the other arm like this, you know, you can even grab onto your leg. That helps keep you balanced. And then we can rainbow our arms on the other side, keeping our shoulder back. And just feeling the stretch. Like there's a lot going on here. And as you do this, try to observe, does one side feel tighter than the other? What habits might you have that makes one side tighter than the other? Or maybe one side needs more attention. The great thing about yoga for athletes is it's an opportunity to be symmetrical. So even our swimmers, they say that they breathe on one side. So even swimming that you think, oh, that's a really symmetrical sport, it isn't necessarily. So yoga gives us the opportunity to kind of work out those asymmetries in our body. Now, one of the things we can't twist our upper body, but we can twist our neck. So keeping our hips forward, can put our head to one side and put our head to the other. And so maybe the person on the airplane thinks you're staring them down, but you're definitely keeping into your own space just by moving your head to one side and the other. We talked about this last class, but another thing that we can stretch and we don't think about it is our eyes. So you can take your finger and have your eyes follow all the way around. And this is an exercise to increase peripheral vision. So if you work at a computer all day, this can be helpful. So we are allowed to roll our eyes in this class. No one's taking it personally, but I invite you to just sort of give an eye roll one way and give an eye roll the other way. And just kind of move those eyes and stretch that. Let's exhale and stretch our neck. If it feels good to add some pressure on it with your hand, you can. And we're just going to take some breaths here. Just like as you breathe, you can think about your breath creating space and opening it up, and we'll just do like a half circle with the neck on one side and a half circle with the neck on the other side. And really just do it at your own pace, paying attention to keep your shoulder down. And slowly stretching your neck. Really trying to make it long and relaxed. Asking yourself, what are you holding on to? And let's stretch our neck on the other side. We'll do the same half circle just on the other side. And with each breath, see if you can lengthen a little bit, using the natural weight of your head. If it feels good, you can let your arms hang down. And I can give a little deeper stretch. Creating length. Letting go of tension. And so when you're pregnant, you may feel like there's a lot you can't do, but think about all these other parts, like your neck, that you really can stretch. If it feels good, you can give yourself a little self-massage on your neck and the connection between your neck and shoulders. Honoring yourself and your practice. Lean the shoulders back and forward and back and forward. Moving your neck to one side, keeping your hips straight, and your neck to the other side, and noticing the difference. Did you feel a little bit more flexible after we did that, or not? Inhale and exhale. Rainbow arms to one side. Inhale and exhale. Rainbow arms to the other side. Leaning back in the chair and forward. Working on spinal flexibility in chair cat-cow. And this is also an opportunity to create hip flexibility. Now, if you're pregnant, you may be prone to your feet falling asleep. So this might be the limit to that. So without disturbing neighbors, if you're on the airplane, you might want to tap your feet, get some circulation. Now, I recommend a step stool or putting your feet on a handbag in an airplane, unless you're super tall, but sometimes it feels good if you have this right angle. So maybe this stool is a little high for me, but a right angle. So with your feet on the step stool, this is a good opportunity to do some ankle rotations. So this is might be a flashback from PE class, but again, the ankles, this is something we don't really stretch. But we have an opportunity to work these little nooks and crannies on an airplane. So we'll do 5 ankle rotations on one leg, outward, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll do some ankle rotations going the other way, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll do the other side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the other thing with ankle rotations is you can also do it manually. So you can put one foot up, and in your socks on an airplane, stretch it like that. So this also goes with self-massage. You can also stretch the front of your foot, and we'll do this pose later where we do thunderbolt or hero's pose where it also lengthens the top of the foot. You can also just do that manually on an airplane. So this is a little airplane warm-up, and it helps with increasing circulation. And then you can stretch your ankle on the other side. And be careful to not put weight on your actual kneecap. You want to put it a little higher up. And you can stretch your ankle one way, do an ankle rotation another way. And then really lengthen and stretch that top of the foot. You can do some self-massage but just getting in touch with all the parts of you that you don't really have time to get in touch with when you're not seated on a plane. Taking a breath here, we can shake out our legs. If your feet feel like they're falling asleep, you can do some lifts. This is actually a core exercise. If you have some room, maybe you're in upper class, you can kind of stretch it out. And sometimes when we feel antsy because we're confined, when we start to work our muscles a little bit and get some fatigue, then our body relaxes. So a big part of pregnancy for a lot of people is anxiety. And exercise physically exhausts the body, and that's a way to let go of some of the stress and anxiety. So you can hold it and do little circles. If you are in a really confined airplane seat, the person in front of you has their chair back, you can just do it with your knee up. It's working a little bit different muscles, but all of it is building strength. So we can have our leg out and do little circles, or in a confined setting, have our knee up, do circles one way and circles another. So back to our curriculum. So our first pose is easy seat, which we did in week 3. And then our second pose is cat-cow, which we did just now, like this, cat-cow, and using the breath, inhale and exhale. And we're going to get a sneak peek on all the other poses of the share method in chair format. So the third pose is Tadasana, which we saw with the sun salutation. So in a chair, it's like standing but seated, arms relaxed, forward gaze, chin level. Relax your jaw. You can manipulate it a little bit to make sure it's relaxed. Sometimes we think our jaw is relaxed and then we add a little pressure and we realize we're holding some tension there. And in Tadasana, this is an opportunity to work your core. It may seem like you're doing nothing, but imagine a string pulling your head up. And breathing. After Tadasana, our fourth pose is forward fold, which we've done in the sun salutations. And you can widen your legs and use your knapsack or step stool, lean forward and exhale. Now our fifth pose is Warrior 2. So how do you do that in a chair? Well, Warrior 2 has arms straight across. So if that is confined on an airplane, we can just do this, or cactus arms. We think about what is the point of Warrior 2? Well, part of it is the lunge, and we're not really getting the benefit of that. But part of it is balance and engaging the core, so you can engage your core sitting, you just have to pay attention to it. And then part of it is strength, lengthening your arms, or you can do this or this to not be in people's way. But basically the idea of keeping your arms parallel while letting go and relaxing your shoulders. So we don't want to bring our arms up and our shoulders. So how do we bring our arms up but drop our shoulders at the same time? So this can be chair Warrior 2. So let's breathe here for a little bit, and then we'll also do some arm circles, and we'll make it a little bit of an exercise as well. You can also kind of pedal out your feet. So we'll take a few breaths here. In through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose and out through the mouth. So here we can do some arm circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the other way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you have water, please feel free to take some water. If you need to use the restroom, please feel free to. So next we have reverse warrior. So while twists are not okay, we can go side to side. So reverse warrior, while we aren't going to do the lunge part, which I guess you could do in the aisle, but it might be a little strange. You can just lift an arm up, drop the other arm down, and have a soft gaze following your fingertips. So we'll just breathe here. Dropping the shoulder, arm up. And we'll windmill, and we'll do that on the other side. So this is reverse warrior in a chair. The 7th pose is extended side angle. So we can pretend there's a pen in our bag and kind of lean to the side. Now we're not going to twist. It's important that the belly button, the flashlight shines forward. But we can kind of pretend, oh, what's that we dropped? Looking up towards the hand. If you have your handbag on the airplane, you could lean on it for support. If you have more flexibility, you can come all the way down. And we'll rainbow it across. Oh, you can also put some weight on this knee like this. Not the knee, but the thigh. And we'll go to the other side. Looking up. And this stretches the side. Now, while we're making more space on one side, we're also contracting the other. So you want to be careful. If something hurts, don't do it. But to the extent it feels like a good release, go for it. Nothing here is medical advice, so please talk to a doctor. Use your own good judgment. And again, you can lean a little on the shoulder, put your forearm on the thigh. And we do extended side angle in a chair. So our 8th pose is revolved lunge, which we are not going to do because we're not going to do anything revolved, because with pregnancy, it's important that we stay straight. So instead of revolved lunge, we can just kind of do a lunge. So let's think about what benefits we're getting from a lunge, and then we'll try to get those same benefits modifying for a chair. So in a lunge, we generally have one leg bent and one leg straight behind us. And, you know, there's different ways to lunge. But here we can sort of lunge using our step stool or handbag, keeping space for the belly, maybe using our legs. And we're not going to do revolve lunge. We're not going to do that pose. We're not going to revolve because that's not prenatal safe, but we are going to lunge. So we just lean forward, and you can feel a little bit of a hamstring stretch. You also are working your glutes, your back, your abs. And let's just take a few breaths here. We can shake it out, and we'll lunge on the other side. So one leg back, one leg bent, and instead of revolve lunge, we'll lean forward. You can use your arms to support you, or use a bag or step stool. Don't want to squish your stomach or put pressure on it. We can just take a few breaths here. From revolve lunge, we can do triangle. So triangle has our legs in a triangle, which we don't necessarily need to do. And the idea is that we have one leg straight, and we're just rainbowing our arm up. We're not really twisting because our belly button is still between our legs. And we do triangle in a chair. Shoulders down. You can do triangle on a chair on the other side. And I mean, if we really do have the space, if this is just chair yoga in your office or something, you can really get your triangle going on. Dropping your shoulder and having a few breaths here. So by sitting in a chair, we're isolating our body to really our upper body, but in doing so, we can really pay attention to work our core. So the 10th pose in our series is revolve triangle. So that we are not going to do. So we can sort of modify, we did triangle, leaning forward, coming up like this. We can modify by not revolving, but just leaning forward, kind of in triangle. Or we can modify just with triangle. So revolve triangle is not safe for prenatal because revolve triangle is a twist. But we can modify revolve triangle by doing regular triangle in a chair or wide-legged straddle, leaning forward. So if it seems difficult to remember what is safe and not safe when you're pregnant, you can just really think about keeping your belly button straight between your hips, and anything that interferes with that is not safe. And as long as you're not twisting and you're not laying on your stomach and putting pressure on your stomach, and also as long as you're not on your back too long, or sometimes like holding poses for too long is not good. You know, other than that, it's pretty safe. The other thing is to be careful on balancing poses because the center of gravity is a little bit off with pregnancy, and we don't want anyone to fall over. But the beauty of chair yoga is we are already sitting down. So for pyramid pose, we have one leg back, one leg forward, and leaning forward. So if you have your carry-on or you have a step stool, you can kind of use that, because when we're not pregnant, great, we can just come all the way down. But when we are pregnant, we have a belly. So by having a step stool, that can create some space so that the stomach isn't pressed up against anything. So for pyramid, we relax our neck and we're leaning forward, straightening our legs, and kind of hugging this leg, but creating space for the stomach. We'll do it on the other side. So we'll kind of be leaning forward and creating space for the stomach. We'll take a few breaths here and just relax. So pyramid is one where the back can be a little bent. And you're just leaning forward and letting it go. Breathe in and come back up from pyramid. And we'll do warrior one. So in warrior one, we can make our lunge and our arms are up. On an airplane or something, maybe you know, do it a little smaller. But this is the idea. And you can do this in a chair. And this is a power pose. So this is also something you could do before a conference call. You know, it's like, assuming maybe you're by yourself, but you know you have a call in 5, hit that power pose. We say pregnant and powerful at ShareLove.Fund. Our celebrity endorser, Florentina, won the women's platform tennis world championship, pregnant and training with us. And we published a blog, Pregnant and Powerful, and this is it, Warrior One, pregnant and powerful. Dropping our shoulders, looking forward, finding our inner warrior. Exhale, you can bring it down. And then the beauty of yoga is we get to be symmetrical. So we hit that power pose on the other side, warrior one, pregnant and powerful, keeping our hips straight. Dropping our shoulders. Taking deep breaths. Letting it go. So our next pose is wide-legged straddle. So for wide-legged straddle, you can widen your legs. If you're on an airplane, maybe kind of modify it. And then you can use your carry-on. For here, I'll use a step stool. And just lean forward. And you can kind of play around with that. And really, you know, if you have the opportunity, I mean, I don't recommend this on a plane because that would be a little not safe in case it bounces about. But if you're in your office, you can really lean into this. You can feel the stretch with the toes face forward. You can feel the stretch in your ankles. Making sure you have space for the belly. But this can really release some tension. And just breathe and let yourself maximize the benefit of it. Inhale, come up. And our next pose, number 14, is twisted wide-legged straddle. So again, we're not going to twist. So the wide-legged straddle, we're not going to twist, but we can come up. We can do a modification for twisted wide-legged straddle, can just be coming forward, wide-legged straddle. Also could be wide-legged straddle like a half bend and creating the strength there. But we are not going to do twisted wide-legged straddle because all twists are not prenatal safe. So if you are in a class and they're doing a twist, you can modify by doing something similar and not a twist. So for the twist, we would come down and then twist from here, but we can just stop. We can just do step 1, wide leg, step 2, lean forward. And if the class is doing a twist, for step 3, you can skip it and stay right here and be safe. So twisted, wide-legged straddle. But we are not doing the twist. We're just doing a half forward fold in a wide-legged straddle. Really lengthening the spine, relaxing the neck. Breathing. So that's how that pose would work on an airplane. Warrior 3. So Warrior 3 is the balancing pose. So how does that work in a chair? Well, we can't totally do it in a chair. We can think about what the purpose is. So the purpose is balance and also lengthening the body. So we can kind of do it like almost backwards kind of thing, where we can sort of put one leg up like this, or backwards. Or in a chair, you can do Warrior 3, not so much on an airplane, but just for chair yoga in general. You can do Warrior 3 using a chair as balance. On an airplane, you won't be able to stick your leg out, but you can maybe, I don't know, bend it, like I guess, so it takes up less space, using the chair for stability. So Warrior 3 doesn't really work on an airplane, so not recommended, but it is fine for pregnant people. So Warrior 3, you have your leg out. If you have a chair, that's good for balance. And actually, that's a great prop if you are pregnant, because you want to be safe and balanced. You can play around with balancing on your own, but know the chair is nearby. On an airplane, you'd really have to take up less space. Be a little silly, but that would be Warrior 3 for a chair. Okay. The 16th pose is half moon. So half moon, we have one leg firmly planted on the ground, one leg out, and our arm down, one arm down for support and one arm up. So we'll try that on the other side. And this is a good simulation because I'm a little bit running out of room, so I can maybe bend my leg a little bit. But this is half moon in a chair. There's no twist. The half moon in a chair. We'll come to pose 17. And pose 17 is revolved half moon. So we know that we are not going to do anything revolved. So for revolved half moon, we can just kind of put one leg back and be forward, almost like a lunge, but with the leg up. Or you can just do regular half moon. So you can just kind of be forward with one leg back. This can be a modification for revolved half moon. Or you can just do half moon. So revolved half moon should not be done while you're pregnant. So the next pose is a little bit of a corny joke, a little irony, but we're going to talk about chair pose in a chair. So to do chair pose in a chair is quite lovely because the chair does a lot of the work and you can actually get really great alignment. And this is actually a great teaching technique for a chair pose. So come to the edge of your chair, bend your knees, tilt your pelvis forward, inhale, arms up, and you can kind of experiment with athletic position, and then come back to your chair. And this is kind of gives you that power feeling of warrior one, just right in a chair. So you can think about your long spine and take a few breaths here. Chair pose in a chair. Exhale, arms down. We can talk about tree pose. So again, we can think about what tree pose is trying to accomplish. So we can sort of do it vertical like this and bring our hands into center. And there's little subtle things that we're stretching, like even doing this, you're stretching your wrists. So we can sort of do a seated tree pose. I'll do it on the other side. And I'll take a few breaths here. It's engaging our core and bringing our consciousness to our center. Release. So for pose 20, we have dancer pose. So this is a beautiful pose, and it's not really made for a chair. We can bring a leg back and lean forward and kind of do the spirit of dancer pose and kind of get a quad stretch. And on the other side, the other thing is you also can really use a chair as a prop and then do dancer pose for balance. And this is a great thing while you're pregnant because you don't want to fall. So having a chair for stability can help with giving some added protection. Okay, so for eagle in a chair, so we have one leg forward, one leg on top, arm down, and this is great. We can wrap the foot around, and this is great in a chair because you really get to focus on lengthening the muscles between your shoulder blades. You know, we think that we have the worst posture, but then when we actually go to stretch it like this, we realize how tight it is. So everything needs to be stretched, like even leaning forward needs to be stretched. So here, we're just creating space between our shoulders, really stretching our back. Let's really hold this, and you can use your core strength to lift up. Create space for the belly. And you kind of want to hold it until it stops feeling like a stretch. That's how we really increase flexibility. You can shake it all out, and we'll do eagle on the other side. I get it all mixed up, but I think I'm good now. So, and you can pay attention to the difference between the two sides, trying to you know, how it feels with your elbows down versus up. And we'll just take some breaths here. We'll let that go. And our 20-second pose, we'll do extended hand to foot. So we, whether we're in a chair or not, we start this by holding onto our toe. And then we can bring our leg out. So we can first hold on to our toe, bring our leg forward, and then out. You can try that on the other side. Hand on the toe, bring our leg forward, and then out. So this is actually a good way to really work on the stretch and isolate the actual stretching part without having to worry about the balance. So squat pose feels so good when you're pregnant, and it's not really made for a chair, but I am going to say if you have a long flight in, definitely be careful, but you might want to think about squatting on the chair. Definitely be safe, use your own good judgment, but sometimes a squat can just feel really good. So you can shimmy your legs out and just letting the tailbone drop back straight. You can think of a string from the top of your head down. And we're just in a squat. So you could definitely read a book like this on a plane. It certainly switches it up. Your legs are apart, so it leaves room for your belly. And anything held too long can be difficult. Your legs can fall asleep, but a little bit of the squat can feel really good. You can bring your hands to heart center, and we'll take a few breaths here. We'll exhale, and we'll talk about hero's pose. So hero's pose is our 24th pose. And, you know, to the extent that it's safe in a chair, you can roll your legs out. And For me in this chair, it doesn't really feel safe, so I'm gonna just do it on one side. Being careful with the knees. And then I'll drop the other leg down. And I'll kind of peel out that calf muscle. And I'll do half hero. But maybe this way in a chair, I can do the full hero. Okay, so that works. So basically with the heroes pose, we're peeling out our calf, and we're actually seated on the chair, not on the legs, on the chair. So it's a stretch. I'll take a deep breath here. And lift up through our torso to get out of that. And thunderbolt pose. So thunderbolt pose is like hero, but we're actually just on our legs. So this is sort of the more obvious position. And when we're in thunderbolt, we really get to stretch out the bottom of our feet. So like here, or the top, I said the bottom, but I meant the top. The top of our feet is like the top, yeah, the top of our feet. The tops of our feet are lengthened. Sorry, I had that little grammar snafu. But it's live, so it's a practice, not a perfect, but I got the grammar finally. The tops of our feet are lengthened. So, and that is that stretch. So that is thunderbolt. So now we have camel. So camel can be tough if you have morning sickness in your first trimester or lightheadedness, but a lot of pregnant people really love camel, really stretches the spine, and you know, let's see how we do that in a chair. So definitely be careful, don't fall over, but assuming you're on an airplane and your chair is definitely fixed, you can, you know, lean back. Maybe put one hand on the chair. Safety is key. Do that on the other side. Yeah, I'm not gonna risk it. But this could be good. You can kind of bend and do camel, but I would definitely hold on if you're in a chair, because when you're on the ground, there's not so far you can fall. You can definitely fall off a chair. So safety is key. There's no points for taking safety risks in yoga when you're pregnant. No points for that. There are points for being safe. So that is camel in a chair. Okay, forearm plank. So we talked about plank in a chair. And we said we kind of have to get up for that because the point is to build upper body strength. Forearm plank, we have our forearms, and this would not really be possible on a plane, I don't think. Definitely would have to be first class or your own plane. But we can lengthen our arms and do forearm plank in a chair. You could also do this on a park bench. And it's a way to switch up plank and kind of get gravity working for your muscles in a different way. Pose number 28 is dolphin pose. So it's kind of like down dog and kind of like forearm plank. So we are on our forearms and kind of in down dog with their knees bent. So we'll take a few breaths here. Come up. And Sphinx pose. So here, earlier we did up dog in the chair. And Sphinx we should not do while we're pregnant. So there's two Sphinxes on the forearm and there's just not enough space for the belly. So, so the modification for Sphinx is up dog. So we can do that. You can pull up on the chair. But for Sphinx, we're not doing that pregnant. And we can modify with up dog so that there's space for the belly. So pose 30 is locust, and we're not going to do that pregnant because that is putting weight on the belly, which we're not going to do. What we can do is think about what locust is about, building back strength, and we can kind of, like modify that in a chair, sort of thrusting forward, kind of like you're on Titanic and the wind's blowing, like in the movie, and you're just being brave in locust, modified locust, because we're not going to be on our stomach while we're pregnant, and also this is chair yoga, so this is a modification for pregnant people in a chair on an airplane who really just want to do locust. You can do it like this. And the point of even doing it, why even modify it? Well, the point is if you want to build back strength, which is important while you're pregnant, to help counteract the weight, this is a way to engage your back. So the pose 31 is bow pose. So again, we're not going to do bow pose because that would be on our stomach. To modify for being pregnant and in a chair, we can kind of do what we did for dancer. And we can do it on the other side. And if you feel safe, you can sort of, I don't recommend doing it on both sides because there's nothing to brace your fall, so it's nice to have a hand out. So basically, bow pose and dancer can be modified the same way, one leg at a time, leaning in a chair. If you do have, let's say, like a tray table or something to support you and lean on, well, no, but you still couldn't because your hand would be back there. So I don't recommend bow pose when you're pregnant at all because you would be on your stomach, so that is a safety no-no. And then in a chair, I don't recommend bow pose either for anyone pregnant or not pregnant in a chair because you don't have a way to brace yourself. So when you want to do bow pose and you're in a chair, do chair dancer instead. So we'll do that on each side, and that is a way to be safe. The next pose 32 is bridge pose. So with pregnancy, you can do a lot of things if your body has been used to it, not pregnant. So if you've always kind of done bridge, spinal flexibility is okay. But in a chair, but definitely listen to your body and also consult with a doctor. I'm not a medical professional and nothing herein shall be construed as medical advice. But for bridge, you can kind of do this in a chair and really arch the back, the neck, and shimmy it around if you need. And think of it like this. So this is a chair version of wheel. I might have called it something else, but I meant wheel. Wait, fish pose. So for fish pose, if you do have the space, you could do it in a chair. Like this. Happy baby. So the idea of happy baby is you're stretching, and you can kind of do it like this. I mean, this is basically what happy baby is. You're just vertical instead of horizontal. If that doesn't feel good, you can just do one side. And the advantage of just doing happy baby on one side and then the other is you can get a little bit deeper of a stretch. So I don't think the people on the airplane will really appreciate this, but happy baby is definitely something you can do in a chair. If you feel wobbly, put a foot down and so forth. Shoulder stand. I do not recommend shoulder stand on an airplane. So shoulder stand in a chair. How would we do that? Like, what is the purpose of shoulder stand and how can we achieve those same results in a chair? So shoulder stand really stretches the back of the neck. So I feel like you could just put your hands behind your head. And let's just breathe like this for a minute. And you're basically just, the point of shoulder stand, I mean, it definitely works your abdomen and stuff like this, but it also just rolls like the shoulder and the head forward. And you can achieve this result just by stretching the back of your neck. So for shoulder stand and chair, we're just going to stretch the back of our neck. And as you hold it, you can feel it drop a little bit. We keep a lot of tension in our neck and shoulders. And what if we just let it all go? So that is shoulder stand in a chair. Seated forward bend. So we can do, we did forward fold in a chair as part of our sun salutation. And seated forward bend is really what we just did because we're seated. So you can spread your legs as a modification for prenatal and lean forward. If it's cramping the belly, then maybe use your forearms on your thighs to create space. So for seated forward bend, we're just going to lean forward. Now, normally when we're seated, we stretch the hamstrings more. If you have something to prop your legs up, you can do that, or you can widen your legs as a prenatal modification and straighten them and then try to get the hamstring stretch. So this is also modification for seated forward bend. So if you were not pregnant or if you're making room for your belly, you can do seated forward bend just like this. So it's basically like the same forward bend, just at an angle. And here you can really feel You can feel what's tight. Is your upper back tighter? Is your lower back tighter? You're going to feel the tightness in sort of like your weakest link, like the area that's most tight on you. So different people will feel the tightness in different places. So it's sort of like a tiered approach. Like you'll first feel it in one place, and when that place is loosened up, then you'll feel it in the next place, and so forth. Tightness is something that actually protects us. You know, if you are pregnant and you are tight and you can only lean this far, well, that's kind of something that's protecting you because you're not going to bump your belly. So we can sort of think about that and embrace the tightness. So that is seated forward fold for a chair prenatal. Pose 37, wide-legged forward fold. So we kind of did this, but wide-legged. And instead of seated forward fold, if we're in a chair, we can use gravity to help us. And the idea here is we're just going to make space for the belly. So you can lean forward and relax, just as long as the belly's not squished. And we'll breathe here for a minute to just let the tension out. Okay, so that is seated forward fold. Pose number 38 is cobbler's pose. So that is our feet together. And this is a really good opportunity for self-massage. So if you're pregnant, your feet may be swollen or hurt, and you may be begging for that foot massage, but beg no more, because you are empowered. You can massage your own feet, and it won't be ticklish, because generally we're not ticklish when it's ourselves. And what I like to do is you can open up your feet like a book and say, oh, what does this book say? This book says I'm awesome. You can feel good and feel empowered. Do a little cobbler pose in a chair, on a plane, on a train, with a fox in a box, to quote Dr. Seuss. Okay, reclined goddess pose. So if you're in a chair on a plane, it's hard to do reclined goddess pose. But we can take the concept and sort of cobbler's pose, just relaxed. You can also kind of do cactus arms or create a symmetry with your feet, or hold on to opposite elbows. And just kind of sit back and relax. Enjoy the ride. Reclined goddess pose in a chair. So the next pose is bridge pose. And we can sort of do this, I don't know, in a chair. I'm like thinking it's a little silly, but you can a little bit do bridge pose in a chair. The angle doesn't quite work because really your legs should be higher, but in a chair you can kind of make it like table. Like this. Okay, the next pose, pose 41, is reclined spinal twist. So we talked about when we're pregnant, we're not going to do a spinal twist. So instead of reclined spinal twist, you can do goddess pose. You can do like a savasana, a chair, corpse version of a pose, but we're not doing a twist. So for reclined spinal twist, I recommend just like a Savasana, a chair, corpse pose. Okay, so for pose 42, we have crow. Crow really doesn't work in a chair, and I don't recommend it for prenatal either. We can think about what we're trying to achieve in crow, and it's balance and arm strength. So if you're on an airplane and you kind of want to get some of that motion that you have with crow and practice building strength in your hands and wrists, you can kind of, you know, put some pressure like this and build some upper and lower arm strength. But that's all I would do for crow in a chair. Okay, so then we have boat pose. So for boat pose, you know, normally we're like this. So you can do it with one leg or the other, or you can just do it like this, or arms up, legs up. So boat pose in a chair, but one leg or the other, or bent is a little more balanced. For prenatal, if it feels better, you can have your legs a bit wider. And this can be a nice prenatal chair boat pose modification. Boat pose modification. Lord of the Fishes pose is a twist, so we're not going to do it. A modification can be easy seat. Another modification could be, you can do like a double pigeon on one leg. And then, because we want to be symmetrical, so for Lord of the Fishes pose, we're not going to do it because it's a twist, and twists aren't safe or pregnant. But we can modify and do double pigeon and stretch our hips. And the final pose, thank you for your patience on this hour-and-a-half plane ride to learning chair yoga, flight school as I call it, is Savasana, corpse pose. So you can relax and enjoy your flight. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it, and thank you for being part of a program that helps so many women globally.